two social outcasts band together in an old house to perform a lengthy ritual, one that will drive them to struggle with demons, both personal and actual. A Dark Song is a 2016 supernatural horror movie directed by Gavin in his feature directorial debut. This small independent film has won hearts and minds since its release, and it's on its way to becoming another cult classic. Yes, all the doubtful reports I yearned are finally within my grasp. Word squares, spooky, freaky drawings, they gotta do something. Yes, that is the key. Checklist. Sword, oh yeah. A scepter, this'll do. A cap, done. A girdle of lion skin, in progress. Wait, what? Hang on. Gavin started his career as a storyboard artist and later gravitated towards direction. He wrote and directed a couple of short movies in the early 2000s and was looking forward to a chance to direct a feature film. As a horror fan, he drew inspiration from Japanese and Korean movies like Dark Water and Tale of Two Sisters, as well as classics such as The Martyrs, The Omen, and his favorite, The Exorcist. On the personal side of things, he was influenced by directors like Kubrick, Scorsese, Spielberg, Hitchcock, and De Palma. Gavin learned about a magical ritual known as the Abramelin from a documentary about Aleister Crowley, and thought it would be a cool theme for his first movie. He wanted to do something different and explore what could be achieved with very little, a small budget, one house, and two characters. His goal was to push the boundaries and convey the feeling that the audience is the third character of the movie, present on site witnessing the events unfold. He wrote the first version of the script in just 9 days, working 12 hours on each. He pitched the movie as Ken Loach does The Exorcist. After getting the producers from Samson Films on board, they developed the movie over a year and a half. The entire process from the initial draft to the end of production took 4 years. As a former storyboard artist, Gavin believed in careful planning. He storyboarded the film completely before starting production. While writing the script, he was advised to include jump scares, but he declined. Instead, he aimed to create a slow-burning pressure cooker of a movie, avoiding reliance on shock tactics. Conveying the dread he envisioned in the script form proved challenging, but he succeeded in creating a film that stands as an antithesis to the modern jump scare fests that often plague the horror movie industry these days. For his movie, Gavin delved into extensive research on the occult. Although he had an interest in the occult during his teenage years, he no longer pursues it in his private life. Despite being an atheist for a long time, he described himself as a Catholic in 2017. While maintaining the general flow of the Abramelin ritual, Gavin was adamant that no real parts of the ritual would be filmed. He wanted to avoid any involvement in the actual practice of black magic. Ray Harmon was hired to compose the musical score. Originally a self-taught guitar player at heart, he had been working as a composer in small-budget movies, shorts, TV series, radio and commercials for more than a decade. Gavin wanted to keep the score extremely simple, using only 3 or 4 instruments playing at any one time. To reflect the repetitive and sinister nature of the ritual itself, the music also had to be repetitive and primeval. Harmon achieved this by using a viola, African drums, and an instrument known as the gembri, which he played by bowing rather than plucking. Anything melodic in nature was rejected by Gavin. Only pieces that were simple, blunt, repetitive, and primal made it into the movie. Experienced Irish cameraman Cathal Waters was chosen as the cinematographer. With around 20 years in the business, he started out as a news cameraman before transitioning to documentaries and then feature films and TV. Despite the small character pool, casting took quite a long time. Once they had someone cast, finding someone in the other role proved challenging, often resulting in the previously secured actor dropping out. Additionally, some individuals declined participation due to their reluctance to being part of a stylistic dark ritual. Catherine Walker portrayed Sophia Howard. As one of Ireland's leading theatre actors, she was brought on board through the Irish Film Board. Walker read the script and was captivated by its spiritual aspects, particularly the theme of facing one's darkness to find the light. Immersing herself in the role of Sophia, she drew inspiration from Carol Ladou's character in Polanski's Repulsion. Steve Oram was eventually cast as Joseph Salomon, an occultist hired by Sophia to assist her with the ritual. Gavin sought someone who didn't fit the typical image of an occultist. Instead, he envisioned an everyman you might encounter at a bus stop. Initially, another actor had been chosen for the role but dropped out, and Gavin saw Oram on TV and felt he was the right fit. Oram liked the script, especially the challenge of portraying a regular guy with an unusual skill set. This marked Oram's first serious role given his comedy background. Once he agreed to take part, Gavin moved quickly, fearing he might lose Oram as well. But fortunately, pieces started to fall into place. According to both Walker and Gavin, Oram was just fantastic to work with. His ability to transform into character was so powerful that he became unrecognizable in front of the camera. Walker and Oram spent ample time together, rehearsing the scenes before production, also sharing many laughs. Gavin provided both actors with detailed backstories and told them to fully inhabit their roles. He then interviewed them as their characters to help with the process. Interestingly, the original script portrayed Sophia as a 17 or 18-year-old seeking to communicate with her deceased brother, while Oram's character was also portrayed more kindly. While I am not an occult practitioner, this review wouldn't be complete without some surface-level information about the ritual depicted in the movie. I even purchased the book from Amazon along with SodaStream syrups, socks and kitchen implements. The book, a new translation by George Dehn, is considered the most complete edition of the original work. Although it's fairly expensive, the book feels well made and adds another handsome touch to my bookshelf. The Book of the Sacred Magic of Abramelin the Mage, or simply the Book of Abramelin, is a grimoire presented partially in narrative form. Our protagonist Abraham of Worms, referring to the German city of Worms instead of slimy crawlies, travels to Egypt to acquire magical secrets from an elderly mage known as Abramelin. Later, Abraham reveals these secrets to his son Lamech. The book consists of 4 parts. The first describes Abraham's journey, while the other 3 contain the magical knowledge. Included is a detailed ritual designed to grant an audience with one's holy guardian angel. Performing the ritual takes up to 18 months and involves prayer, the use of magical word squares, and strict discipline regarding earthly pleasures. The earliest surviving manuscripts of this work, written in German, date back to the early 17th century. Later copies exist also in French, Italian and Hebrew. The Book of Abramelin is well known in the esoteric circles. The infamous occultist and the wickedest Renaissance man Aleister Crowley claimed to have undergone the ritual in Scotland, in a setting reminiscent of the film. According to his writings, he managed to conjure up a demon but failed to bind it during the ritual. While the movie's right incorporates elements from the Book of Abramelin, it doesn't faithfully follow the grimoire. Instead, it uses the ritual as a narrative device. Notably, the word squares central to the actual ritual are absent, and other elements such as blood drinking and drawn oriental characters are unrelated. Director Gavin aimed to infuse the real ritual with more excitement, as he found the authentic version somewhat monotonous and boring. The funding for A Dark Song came from the Irish Film Board and Film Cymru Wales. Gavin, being both Irish and Welsh, led to this interesting co-production. A Dark Song was made with a tiny budget. Some sources state the budget being $50,000, while in an interview Gavin stated that the budget was originally £60,000 but was later increased. In any case, the budget was small. For $50,000 you could not produce a single second of The Force Awakens. You could not even buy a decent giraffe for that money. All the crew had was a small lorry, a glorified van as they described it, and all the equipment jammed inside. A Dark Song was filmed in the period of 20 days in locations around Dublin and Wicklow in the summer of 2015. Apparently the outside shots were made in Wicklow, which was Dublin for North Wales. I am not 100% sure whether any of the shots were actually done in Wales at all, although the film takes place in it. This awesome shot of these sinister clouds were not an effect but a real shot, and the last one they did. They were filming in Wicklow as this natural phenomenon suddenly manifested, and they managed to capture it after a frenzied attempt. The film was shot completely on locations without any studio shots. The house in which the majority of the film takes place was made up of 2 locations. I believe this manor house in Kilbride was used for the exterior shots, and a condemned townhouse in suburban North Dublin was used for all the interior shots. It was important to not give the audience a look out of the window, as there was a bus depot right next door. Gavin described that although it was a fairly warm July weather outside, the inside of the house was very cold, and the crew had to wear winter coats on set. The house did not have running water, and the crew had a special toilet put in for their needs. He said that filming in Ireland was a great experience and praised the local crew. Gavin faced the challenge of working within a tiny budget, necessitating compromises on certain visual elements. In the climactic end scene, the demons were portrayed by people covered in mud and paint, rather than expensive prosthetics. The most intense day of filming involved capturing both the demonic and angelic scenes back to back. With only one chance to get it right, they narrowly succeeded. Gavin visualized the angel through storyboards, although the final result differed from his initial vision. Ideally, he would have depicted a more subtle, smaller angel in a room with the dawn breaking behind her. Post-production occurred at Windmill Lane Pictures, overseen by the editor Anna Maria O'Flanagan. The effects were crafted with assistance from Bowsy Workshop. Despite the constraints, Gavin described the filming experience as positive and smooth, devoid of drama or argument. Sustaining a narrative with just 2 characters in a single setting was a proud achievement. The film premiered in 2016 in an Irish film festival whose name I won't even try to pronounce. It also screened at other festivals, including Fantastic Fest. A year later, it had a limited theatrical release, earning $24,000 at the box office. Additionally, it found its way onto various streaming services and received a Blu-ray release in 2017. Our story begins with our protagonist, Sophia, inspecting an old country estate with an agent. Sophia, a grieving mother who tragically lost her son, is now driven by a determination for vengeance. She is willing to sacrifice everything to achieve her goal, ready to stare into the abyss even if it stares back. Sophia meets Joseph Solomon, an experienced occult practitioner with less than subtle name. He is rough around the edges, disenchanted with the world, and occasionally a bit of a bully. Sophia hires him to assist her in performing a grueling magical ritual known as the Abramelin, which is supposed to conjure her holy guardian angel and grant her a wish. Together they assess the house's suitability. Solomon hesitates not about the house itself, but about Sophia's readiness to commit. Eventually, he agrees. Sophia gathers supplies for an 8-month isolation inside the house, while Solomon battles alcohol withdrawal to prepare himself and the house for the upcoming events. Sophia's sister tries to talk her out of it, but her determination remains unwavering. After using the final moments to enjoy the outside, they seal themselves inside the house. It's a rough start, and Solomon is asserting dominance and control over Sophia. They go through the ritual together and start the lengthy and grueling routine. The first signs of otherworldly disturbance are starting to show, although our characters disagree whether it's the ritual that is causing it. The cracks in their relationship are starting to show as the ritual progresses. Sophia finds her personal things missing and Solomon abuses her, claiming it's part of the ritual. Even as gold flakes rain down on her, the breakthrough they seek remains elusive. Sophia and Solomon confront each other, with Sophia revealing her true motivation: vengeance against those who murdered her son. Solomon, tormented by the revelation's effect on the success of the ritual, turns to alcohol. He orders Sophia to a bathtub for a cleansing to get the ritual back on track, and drowns and then resuscitates her. In the aftermath, Joseph accidentally gets horribly injured. While they try to care for his injury for what little they have, he reveals his wish would be to disappear from the world and enjoy the rest of his life in silence. Despite all this, they push on with the ritual. Solomon's physical condition keeps deteriorating as Sophia starts to experience haunting things, including hearing her son's voice and seeing apparitions in the dark. Solomon seems to have died during the night and his notes destroyed. She tries to leave the house just to find herself back in it. She finds the lost picture of her son in a puddle of vomit and Solomon's dead body in the hallway. Sinister forces pursue her, knocking her unconscious. When she wakes up and is tortured by the demons, she pleads for forgiveness and sees a glimmer of light. In a room, her guardian angel awaits. Having an epiphany, Sophia desires only the power to forgive. Before departing, she buries Solomon in the pond, perhaps granting him the silence he sought. I first discovered the movie after it was recommended several times in the comments of my Ninth Gate video. I ordered the German Blu-ray immediately and watched it as soon as it arrived. And now I am so glad people recommended this. What an experience. First, let's talk about the remarkable musical score. Composer Ray Harman's barbarically primal notes create an ominous dread, transporting me into a desolate wasteland where tribal savages drag me into their camp. The music perfectly complements the film, and I could not imagine the movie without this haunting soundtrack. Interestingly, I initially wondered if Harman was the same composer behind The Witch, but alas, he was not. With only 2 characters, the film's success hinges on their ability to captivate the audience. Neither character is particularly likable, they're both damaged and portrayed very realistically. Despite their mismatched personalities, their shared goals and codependence drive them forward during the grueling 8 months spent inside the house. Their interactions feel natural, intimate, and authentic. As the movie unfolds, we empathize with them, especially as their true motives come to light. Sophia's character arc, from vengeful grief to redemption and forgiveness, is particularly compelling. For a while, I was sure that Solomon was scamming Sophia, taking advantage of her fragile mental state. I half expected the film to reveal that the supernatural occurrences Sophia witnessed during the ritual were just hallucinations induced by starvation, cabin fever, and sleep deprivation. But the movie defied my expectations, and I loved every twist and turn. For some reason, I've always loved the feeling of making camp, settling somewhere that would be your home for a while. Whether it is a tent site in the woods or a hotel room in a metropolis, putting your things in place and exploring your surroundings is something that I find very pleasant and optimistic in a way I cannot really describe to you. Despite the dark theme, I got the same feeling when watching Sophia and Joseph prepping the house and securing supplies for their 8-month refuge. It's also easy to see a resemblance to the Overlook Hotel in The Shining, although it was salt instead of snow that sealed the characters inside. Acting was spot on. Catherine Walker's depiction of the grieving mother was excellent. Everything in her emotionless demeanor signaled that she had been through a lot and had nothing left except her determination for vengeance. Oram played the character of Solomon to perfection. His performance is just unsettling, ranging from a miserable bully-like behavior to a caring scholar. There is a deleted scene where he reveals details about his history, for example that he was once a priest in seminary before starting to explore the occult. I would not have minded knowing a bit more about him in the final cut. Recently, I reviewed the Australian movie Babadook on this channel, and I got the same vibes from this movie. Both dealt with loss, grief, depression, and ultimately letting go. Both focused on two characters and took place inside a dilapidated house. The movies even came out in the same year and both have this unique, bleak atmosphere with a lingering sense of dread that stays with you after the movie is over. The visuals captured by the cinematographer Waters are beautiful. There is this claustrophobic atmosphere that was skillfully captured on film. Gavin mentioned that the visuals were inspired by the Counter-Reformation era works of Caravaggio, who is my favorite painter, which probably explains why I like it so much. The awesome shots taken in Wicklow really made me want to visit there and reminded me of the coarse beauty of the northern part of my own country. The movie managed to look much more expensive than it actually was. The depiction of demons in the third act as just humans with some mud and paint was something they maybe had to compromise on. I thought that they were the damned human souls rather than demons, and this detail never bothered me. The ending with the angel was very bold and impressive. The angel looks positively otherworldly and its proportions somehow unsettling. While at first view I was not sure whether I liked the scene, it has grown on me with repeated viewings. What left me wondering is whether Solomon had something to do with the ritual that killed Sophia's son. The entire plot point of the son being killed in some ritual by teenagers felt out of place, and the way Sophia describes this incident as somehow evasive. Solomon had apparently taken her son's picture that she later finds in a puddle of Solomon's puke, like it was his last confession before departing. Maybe originally neither one knew the other's connection to the incident, and Solomon realizes what is going on after seeing the picture. Was it Solomon that she really forgives in the end as she buries him into the pond? Maybe I am just overanalyzing this. Debates in a civil way down below. A Dark Song is a fantastic horror movie that deserves much more attention than its tiny budget allowed. Whether it's the great musical score, impressive visuals, or the terrific acting performances, whenever A Dark Song starts to play, one has to stand in awe. So, what did you think of A Dark Song? If you have summoned your guardian angel, please ask it to like and subscribe. If you haven't, maybe like and subscribe yourself. If you want to see more from the director Liam Gavin, he later directed 2 episodes of The Haunting of Bly Manor. If you want to know more about the ritual of Abramelin, I recommend the YouTube channel Esoterica, which did a review of the movie and a study of the ritual itself. I, on the other hand, will be back sometime with something else.